Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Champagne Wives podcast. I'm your host, Kelly.
And I'm your co-host, Nicole. Hey, Kel.
Hi, boo.
How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. There's been a lot going on in the world of relationships and celebrity.
So we're good.
So
but
we're
some
good.
People that's not doing so good.
Yeah. So I just feel like yesterday, rolling and scrolling through the internets, I just saw relationships dropping like flies. It's crazy.
I know.
It was crazy. We got to talk about it.
It was devastating.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs.
It was sad. I mean, because somebody said online, like, divorces come in threes.
Ooh, this is coming. This one's coming.
Whoa.
So sorry. This thing was under pressure.
My God. What happened? That bottle was aggressive.
Every time with the boo.
I don't think it was moving.
It was not. It was in a cup holder.
Oh my God.
This thing was under pressure. I'm so sorry.
Maybe we have to stop drinking that one, child. Maybe start drinking something else.
So good.
I know, but we can't be having like all the mess on the floor. Now look at your hand.
Messing up the studio. It's okay. We'll figure it out.
Sorry, sis.
I'm sorry. And on top of that, we're improvising. We're moms and I forgot
have busy lives.
We have busy lives. So we're improvising.
We're human.
And using these cups here. So
plastic cups.
Anyway, so a little bit of a different type of, I guess, episode. And I think because of the state of affairs that we have going on, let's just jump to what's happening with these couples and all these divorces.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
So we have a few couples, right? We have Tia and her husband, Corey. We have Miguel and his wife, Mandy. Yeah. And then the third one is Giselle and Tom Brady. And so what's shocking about all of these relationships is that they have all been together for like a really long time. So we have Tia and her husband were together. We're married for 14 years. Giselle and Tom Brady were married for 13 years. And then Nan and Miguel were only married for 3 years, but they've been together since they've been like 18 years old. So a 17-year relationship. Yeah. And now it's just like, they're dropping like flies. And you think that like after a certain mark, specifically like the 10-year mark, like everything is copacetic and it's easy.
You've got 7-year hump, all
exactly.
That, yeah. No such thing.
You guys know each other really well. You work through most of your kinks and your disagreements. Like you know each other and you know how to kind of avoid certain for certain fights and pitfalls. And then bam, just out of nowhere. Well, to us, it seems like out of nowhere.
Right. Just all of a sudden it's in the blood.
All of a sudden it's done.
Separating, marriage ended.
Yeah. And what's so crazy is that like Tia had just recently posted, like she was really, I forgot to set my timer. Let me set it, y'all. She was really, because I'm a stickler for time, y'all.
She keeps us on track.
So what's crazy is just that cheers, love. Thank you. Just the online post, like the I love you, the lovey-dovey. Tia seems like a really good wife. She seemed like she was really into her marriage and into her husband, but he didn't seem like he gave the same energy back.
I would agree. She filed according to court records. And I think I'm speculating.
Yeah.
But seeing what you've seen throughout the years where she seemed really into him and almost a little bit more into him than he was into her.
Yeah.
And maybe that wasn't the case. Maybe behind the scenes, there was a different dynamic. But what I feel like what the world saw was someone who was very in love with her husband and a wife who probably was having to chase the reciprocity of that love and
or
affection,
keep it together
and working harder to keep it together.
Or by herself to keep it together. You know, it's hard when you are the only person, I feel like, who's putting in the work to keep a relationship going. And it just seemed like in that particular situation, she was the one who was keeping the relationship going. And so she filed for divorce, but sis is glowing. Like she did an interview last week and she said that she was feeling great and she was stepping into her power. And I love that for her.
I love that for her. Resonates so strongly with me. And what I will tell you is I still think she should be with Derwin. I think that's her true love anyways.
Girl, bye. Goodbye.
Okay. So then there's Tom Brady and Giselle.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what happened there. I literally saw it and I was just like, oh, I didn't go into detail about that one.
I think I know what happened.
What?
He went back to the NFL.
You know what? I did see something online and somebody was like,
he retired and then came back.
Yeah, somebody was just like, you know what? You cannot please women. Like they even leave you if you have a job. Just go and be trifling. Stay trifling, my friend.
This is what the internets are saying.
That's the men, you know, of course the men are saying that like this justifies everything that every point that they've been trying to make.
Disgusting.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if that's the case. Then sorry for her.
Who knows?
Him, and she's gorgeous, though. She's such a beauty, and I mean, I love when a woman can make decisions, sound decisions, like firm decisions for themselves. And I'm sure that like it probably had been a while for her to come to the conclusion as well with all of these women, and even though Nan and Miguel separated at one point and then came back together. Yeah. So I know to dissolve a marriage, it takes time. And I think that specifically if a woman files for divorce, she's checked out way before she's pulled the trigger.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. I think especially women who have children, who have families, and, you don't take those decisions lightly. I would imagine that if there's something related to abuse or violations and things like that, then like, yes, like you're packing your shit and you're going.
Yeah.
But when you seemingly just you have kids and seemingly just can't.
A nice life, a good life. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not taking that decision lightly, but she was gone, I believe.
Sorry, y'all. My phone fell.
Gone way before.
All kind of stuff going on. We got the plastic cups.
It's an off day.
It is. We're pushing through. We push through like we always do.
That's the only thing we know how to do. And then lastly, Miguel, and I can't pronounce her name.
I know. I call it 9. I don't know if that's correct or not, but yeah.
So that's interesting because that's a lot of time. A lot of time dating. I mean, classic case of I knew you when you had nothing and was with you as you amassed things and became famous.
We just talked about that on our last episode.
Week, yeah. And so it got to a point where I don't know who filed. Did she file?
I'm not sure who filed, but I do know that they separated previous to this announcement and they rekindled.
Right.
And so it's unfortunate that now, that was the rekindling of their relationship was temporary and they've decided to move forward with the divorce. Yeah. So don't know what happened in that situation either, but same thing. She's a beautiful woman. Miguel is like stunning. All of 4 feet tall. So I don't know like what he could have done possibly. Like to me, he should have been like worshiping the ground that she walks on.
She's stunning.
She's gorgeous.
But I know it's not all about looks. I do know that. So neither here nor there, but
after 17 years, like you know everything about a person. Like
how do you start over?
Like you grow up with someone for 17 years, and I feel like you know everything about a person. So I'm curious as to what
her second act looks like.
I'm curious as to what caused them to make this decision. Because
I mean, maybe he was unfaithful.
I don't know. They were saying that about Corey too, and he had to come online and say cap. He was like, not.
Like, that's not my story.
It's not my story. Well, but you never know.
Here's what I say. Wishing all of the women well. We know the men will be fine. They'll land on their feet. But I'm wishing all the women well, and I'm wishing all the children.
Just the women.
Well, as well. Well, because the reality is that they're in Hollywood and they're attached to these folks more so like Nan and I know we're butchering her name, but Nan and Giselle, they're attached to well-known folks.
So what you're trying to say about Tia's husband, child? That man is an actor.
Yeah, he's an actor, but we know who has a longer SAG card than he does. She does. So wishing the women well, wishing the children well, because at the end of the day, that's really the most important thing. And I'm hoping that they can have effective and successful co-parenting relationships where that applies.
And what I'll say is you just never know. Like you look at people's relationships online, and we always talk about this, and you think that like everything is all good. They have a great relationship. Yeah. You aspire to have that one day. You idolize it. You look up to it. And at the end of the day, people are just people, and people are going through different things every day. So you never really know what goes on behind closed doors. And so that's why we always say, just be cautious about just how you, I don't know, interpret the things that you see online in comparison with like your own life.
Yeah.
Right.
Like compare yourself to yourself.
Yeah.
Your standards are your standards with your partner. They're not the standards that you see on social media, because social media is a snippet, just like our reels are a snippet. Like there's a broader context to everything. And so focus on making your relationship the best dynamic for you and whoever you're with is the little bit of advice that I think we can lend here. And don't compare yourself to what you think is reality, because the reality is that it's not real.
No, it's not.
So yeah. Should we call that the what's poppin'?
That should be. Yeah.
Today?
That's
so that's the what's poppin'.
That's the what's poppin' for today.
Okay, cool.
I just felt like it. So girl, we were just sending messages all day. Like articles were coming out and I was just taking a picture of it or sending it directly to her inbox. So just a lot going on. And sometimes we have that. Like sometimes there's weeks where like there's just a lot of things going on. Sometimes there's not a lot going on. But in context to our show and the topics that we talk about, I thought this would be a really good time to just kind of discuss in our what's popping, what's going on with these divorces and these splitting up of these relationships.
I know. And, you know, I'm trying to avoid saying City Girls Up One, because I feel like there's a beautiful crop of women and like very multifaceted and dimensional women that are making their way back out into the world. So I don't want to say City Girls Up One.
No, but like, we gonna say Hot Girl Fall.
Hot Girl Fall.
Hot Girl Fall is uncuffing season.
It really is.
Cheers to uncuffing. Uncuffing season and Hot Girl Fall. So.
Okay, so we digress.
We do have a topic to discuss.
We do.
Yes, we put this what's popping ahead of our topic, but we do have something that we want to bring to the altar tonight.
And it's a really good topic to bring to the altar. It really, really is. So we have talked about a lot of things in this season. We've talked about what the F is a high value woman. We've talked about nice guys and bad guys. What's your preference? And we thought it would be appropriate to talk a little bit about submission. And so we've coined this episode, WTF is a submissive woman. Because just like the whole concept of high value women is floating around the internet, the concept around submissive women is also a conversation that I know is making its way across most of the male podcasts, right? And I think it's starting to make its way into female podcasts, but they're having different conversations around the concept of submission, just like the whole high value woman versus high value man conversation. Like they're two very different conversations. The men have a perspective of what a high value woman is, and a high value woman views themselves as something very different. So,
girl, I'm gonna have to just put this phone here.
Yeah, can we just let the phone go?
I'm gonna just put myself out of this misery.
Welcome to the world of a free Taurus and a very, very methodical Virgo. Because it is giving her high levels of anxiety right now.
Girl, a high level anxiety.
It's okay.
Okay.
Now you see it.
I see it.
Okay.
It's here.
So let's talk about it. Okay. A submissive woman. What the fuck's a submissive woman? What does that mean?
Yeah. Well, I feel like everyone's definition of submission is different. And I think that men have an idea of, in their mind, of what they think a submissive woman is or should be. And then women have their perception or idea around or about what submission means. And so what I don't think submission is, I don't think submission is doing household chores like laundry and washing dishes and cleaning and all that kind of stuff.
I agree.
I don't think that's submission. I know a lot of people will argue with me and they think that that's some form of submission. But I would disagree. So for me, submission means creating a home and a peaceful environment for a man. You know, there's something to be said about being a man's peace. Why are you laughing?
I don't know.
Is that like, why are you laughing? Are you calling cap?
No,
okay,
cap. Never.
No cap. Okay.
Please.
No cap.
No.
But I do feel like there's a certain level, especially when you get into a successful men and what they desire. I think it's they deal with a lot on a day-to-day, making deals, leading, talking to people, troubleshooting problems. And so I think at the end of the day, or any man really just wants to come home to a peaceful environment, a clean house, maybe even a cooked meal. And I think that to come home to unruliness or somebody who has an attitude or who is just grumpy, I just think it can be unattractive.
Yeah, it definitely can be. I don't know. There was something else I was going to go. What were you going to say? There was something else I was going to add to that. I mean, yeah, no, I can't disagree with you. I feel like a man wants to come home to a place where he can find his peace. And a woman who is willing to submit is, and there's a lot that goes into that willingness, which, we'll talk about. But a woman who is willing to submit has every desire to create that peaceful retreat and place of respite for her man or her mate, right? Because I know that it might not be with a man. So I don't disagree with you there. I don't. I don't know why in my mind.
What are you thinking?
I went sexual. Sorry. But he also just wants to come home to.
What? Like a sexy?
He wants to come home to. He wants to put his thing somewhere. He wants to know that he has a place to put it and that it's warm and welcoming and embracing.
So he wants to be desired.
Absolutely.
So is that a part of being a submissive woman, in your opinion? Like coming on to your man or your partner?
Oh no, that's just a part of
nature.
That's nature.
Bye.
Yeah, that's not submission.
Off topic.
Oh, always. That's just nature.
You're off topic.
Sorry. Okay. Keep going. I'm here.
Okay. So, another form of submission to me means letting him lead. And by leading, I'll give some examples. One, making plans for the family, for businesses, finances, etc. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that this is all unilateral, obviously, but again, going back to your term, you're saying be the neck, not the head. I think that if you have a man, then again, and we talk about this, I mean, this is a consistent theme throughout all of our shows, with being a soft woman or being in our feminine energy, type of man that we want, a strong man, a leader, someone who takes charge, and someone who is in control. And so I think that if you do have a man who is a natural leader, then you have to let them lead. Now, you also have to be comfortable in that. Right. You can't follow no fool. Ever. Like the blind leading the blind. That's what we're not doing. Have discernment, child. But
that's the word of that. That's the word of the season. Discernment.
You're not, following somebody who can't find their way out of a paper bag, a wet paper bag, child. We're not doing that. Letting him lead is definitely a form of submission. Next is assisting him with said plans, right? And being encouraging towards his endeavors and goals. And I think that a good woman can either make a situation better, and then the opposite can make a situation worse. Okay. Right. And I feel like as the neck in the relationship, as that support partner, you said it last week, you would prefer to be like the sounding board for him and the things that he has going on. And, to talk about goals or whatever it is for the relationship, for the family, for the business, et cetera.
Yeah. To be a thought partner.
To be a thought partner. Exactly.
At the end of the day, you're making the D. You're making the decision.
Exactly. And that's the thing. That's the key.
What's the key?
You're making the decisions.
Oh, yes.
Right? So you're doing these things. And I think a lot of times submission is given such a bad connotation. But
I blame it on Coming to America.
Really? Like bark like a dog?
Yeah.
A big
stand
dog?
On my foot.
Okay. That's not submission, by the way.
The royal balls are clean, Your Highness. Yeah, blame it on that. But think about it.
That is not submission.
That is what, like, for the most part, the Black community and then other communities who jumped onto that movie were like exposed to when it came to submission. Like that.
Yeah, well, people don't know. I don't
slavery.
think that, again, everybody's definitions are different.
Yeah, for sure.
And they look to film and other things to help define what submission means. And I think that was just an exploitation.
Yes. An extreme exploitation at that. Yes.
But yeah, so back to my point, just again, you can lead. I think that, again, submission is given such a negative connotation when you think about, again, Coming to America and some of the other things that people have seen or witnessed. But you are, as a woman, really leading. And we talked about this when we talked about stepping into your feminine and divine energy, right? And so you, for all intents and purposes, make a man feel like a man and make him feel like he's leading. But at the end of the day, you're really leading because you have his head and his heart, and you're able to kind of influence and direct.
Yeah, the head ain't moving without the neck, child. It ain't moving without the neck.
Exactly. You can kind of direct which direction the head goes in. So just keep that in mind. Exactly. Exactly. And then the last thing I had was just trusting his leadership and direction. And so, although it's good to be a sounding board and it's good to communicate and kind of know where things stand in the relationship. However, I feel like at the end of the day, men just want the freedom to be able to make decisions and, want us women to trust his leadership. So if he says, like, want to do X, Y, and Z, of course, we can give our input, but at the end of the day, allowing him to make that decision, finality, like the final decision. And, trusting that it'll be okay. And if it's not okay, then he gonna figure that shit out, child.
Right. And so, that's the big part of it, right?
Don't come looking at me like you make these decisions, like you figure it out.
Right.
And I think
there's no we in figuring it out.
Right. Like, I feel like men who are leaders do that.
Yes. They figure out how to recover. Absolutely.
They figure it out how to recover, and you won't ever know that anything is wrong or anything is going on. Facts.
I agree. They're over there.
They're figuring it out.
Moving the bodies, cleaning it up, doing what needs to be done. And you over here,
all of it, girl.
Just going on about your daily life.
Exactly. And you're just sitting there in peace and bliss, like nothing is going on. And that's the way it should be.
I think so. So I can't disagree with anything that you said. I would add a couple of
any of those.
Of course.
In your definition.
We're so different, but like-minded. Okay. So yes, there was overlap.
Okay.
So I think submission, it's gotten a bad rap. It's gotten a bad rap from a social media standpoint. It's gotten a bad rap just because of what we've seen in movies. And it pretty much takes the power, I feel like, from what we've seen in movies growing up. It completely removes the power that women ultimately and really do have, from women. And the reality is that I think it has the potential to be a really beautiful thing.
But I feel like that's all planned. Like, I feel like
it's hegemony.
Huh? Sure. An agenda?
No, well, it's an agenda, hegemony.
Hegemony. Yeah, okay. Yeah. But I feel like it's a part of the agenda for men, right? To make us not know the depth, the deepness, the depth of our power.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Of course. I would agree wholeheartedly there. But I do think that when you recognize the power of submission as a woman, it has the potential to be not only a beautiful thing for you, because it's truly like an embracing of your power. So it's a beautiful thing for you, but it's also a beautiful thing in terms of, how it shows up for your partner. And I think there's a lot of benefits to reap from it. There's a lot out there about what a submissive woman does. Like, is she just like washing a man's feet? And trust me, when I was doing my research on the internet, I saw a woman who was giving her man a whole pedicure, like scrubbing his feet. And I was just like, that's not submission. That's not submission. I feel like
that puts me in the mind frame of Coming to America.
Yes, that's very Coming to America.
The royal feet are clean, Your Highness.
Was it the feet or the balls?
It's the balls. I'm talking about in this situation. The example that you gave.
Yes. So a couple of notes that I had here. A submissive woman is a woman who's so stimulated by and trusting of the person that she chooses to be with that she just feels. She just feels. So all of the things that she is doing for her man, for her partner, for her family, she's doing it because her heart is so full, because she knows that she can trust and rely on the person that she's with, that she just does. And it's done without question. And it's not done to a level where she feels like she's less than, but it's done to a level because she knows this is for the betterment of her household, the people, the things that she loves.
And again, he's going to figure it out. If shit blows up, then she knows that he's going to figure that shit out.
Yeah. Now, when does submission happen? Submission happens when a woman feels like she can trust you. So for the guys that are tapped in, submission doesn't happen because you're a man with a penis and a nutsack and you show up.
Yeah, and because you're the man, just because you're the man.
Right, just because you got the XY chromosome. Submission happens when a woman feels like she's safe with you, when she feels emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically safe with you.
Yeah.
And when she feels that, when she feels those things, she is willing to let you lead. Yeah. And I know this is going to get a lot of flack, but a woman who won't submit is not a woman's fault. It's not a woman who's at fault when she won't submit.
That's a good point.
The reality,
a woman that won't submit is not that woman's fault. It's because the man has not created the environment for her to feel comfortable to submit.
Yes. And there's an unqualified leader attempting to lead her.
Unqualified leader. Okay.
I feel strongly about that. It's
true.
It's not that like she's not willing to submit because
she's difficult. Yeah.
Right. Every woman wants to submit.
Yeah,
Trust
it's in
me.
Our nature.
It's in our nature, literally in our DNA to be caregivers, to be those emotional nurturers. Right. Yeah. It's in our DNA, but a woman is not going to submit if she doesn't feel like she can trust you. A woman is not going to submit if she doesn't feel like she has a qualified man or mate that is able to lead her. And if your world is a freaking mess and you want a woman to come into that situation and submit to you, guess what? Like she's going to walk in and feel like, I don't know if I can do that because there's work that I have to do to get this to a place where I feel like get this situation or get this man or this person to a place where I feel like they're able to lead me effectively. And when that is the case, I promise you will be fighting an uphill battle with getting that woman to submit for the rest of the duration of your relationship.
Exactly. And I think also too, I think it's about having a healthy balance of, being an alpha male, having the leadership qualities, but also having the discernment and the soft skills to be able to make a woman feel safe emotionally. And I think that goes along. And I think a lot of men mess up there because they can be leaders, they can lead, and they think, because they're men, they have to make the decisions, and because they're taking care of home and she's living a for all intents and purposes soft life, that he doesn't have to show up for her emotionally in the same way. And I just think that that's not the case, because if a woman is not taken care of emotionally, she's always in fight or flight. And that makes her not trust. That probably gives her anxiety. That makes her sad, maybe even depressed.
And let's just repeat that, because I feel like a lot of men feel like, well, if I serve and show up as the provider and give you the means to buy what you need, furnish the home, feed the family, make sure the kids are dressed nicely.
Yes. Keep the roof over your head.
Keep the roof over the head. A cozy roof.
Exactly.
A nice
very
roof,
nice
right?
roof.
All that is great. But if a woman does not feel spiritually, mentally, emotionally safe, in addition to feeling physically safe, the ability that she will have to submit to you is going to be relatively non-existent.
Non-existent.
Because we don't just operate in the space of feeling safe physically. We operate and probably thrive more so in the space of feeling emotionally safe.
Absolutely. And that is mostly emotional.
Yeah.
And men are not emotional.
Right.
And you get that.
Right.
But I don't think that they get that women are very emotional. Exactly. And, you talked about just feeling safe, being taken care of from a financial standpoint. But I also feel like from an emotional standpoint, feeling seen, feeling heard, feeling validated. Also some adjectives that I want to throw out there and appreciated as a person and as a partner. Because even if you are a stay-at-home mom and you are not contributing financially to the family, there's still value
that you are adding
to the home. You're making a home, you're cooking the meals, you're taking care of the children. You know what I mean? And so I feel like if you're not, as a woman, appreciated at home with your man, then that just creates, I don't know, an unstable environment. Because again, emotionally, we're just not tuned in to the relationship, to the home, the day-to-day, the routine. I feel like everything is thrown off.
Yeah. And as you're saying that, the whole stay-at-home mom concept, it makes me think of the fact that like people think that submission has a lot to do with like an imbalance. Like I think inherently when we think of the concept of submission, it's like there's someone high and there's someone low who is like submitting. And if you're a stay-at-home mom, one would think, right, well, you're not bringing finances to the checking account. And so because you're not bringing those finances, like
how valuable
are you? And so of course you have to submit because I'm providing all of these things here to you, right? Like you wouldn't have.
That mentally fucks a woman.
Right. It exactly mentally fucks with the woman because it's like, so you're automatically invalidating the fact that like our kids are well-rounded. Our kids are grounded. I'm playing a key role in making sure that I'm producing with your assistance, but for the most part, owning the production of making sure that these kids are contributing members to society.
Yeah, rounded children. Yeah, absolutely. I'm making your house a home. Like you lay with me every night. Like I just don't like that's all in itself. I mean, like creating value, like, you know what I mean? Like I just, so again, it's very patriarchal. Like again, men trying to make women feel inferior, right? Which is fucked up, but it is what it is. And so that's why we're here to be like, no, sis, take back your power. You may not, that if you are contributing to the household, if you are working, then this conversation is not, this conversation
but it
is. No, it is for you, but nobody can make you feel bad because you got show shit. You know what I mean? Like you're doing your own, you're contributing not only financially, but, doing all of those other things as well. But for someone who's not, who's a stay-at-home mom, who's, just taking care of the kids and being a homemaker, like, sis, you have power.
Yeah.
Take your power back.
1000%. So that's actually a good segue to a point that I did have here about the plight of an alpha woman. So a woman who is bringing her fair share to the table, right? And contributing to the household, but who is Debbie Desperado to be in a situation where she feels like she can be submissive. And I'm sorry, I'm itching my nose. It's like allergy season. I took every medication and it's just not working. So it's not that I have hives. It's just that it's allergy season. But the alpha woman, I think, is probably getting dragged more so than the stay-at-home mom is because of the simple fact that she is able to do for her own, can probably stand on her own 2 feet. I wouldn't say independent of a man, but she could certainly more than survive on her own in the absence of a man, probably thrives and flourishes a little bit more when she has a man who can, also financially contribute.
Yeah, 2 incomes are better than one.
Always. So, I feel for the alpha female, who I can very much relate to and with, and I see myself in, who is able to provide, is able to do for herself, but absolutely has had a desire to want to submit, right? And be in a dynamic where she feels safe and okay to submit, and feels like she has somebody who can lead. And I'm not going to make this a personal situation, but want to spend some time just talking about like the alpha woman who probably doesn't have the chance to submit, even though that's probably at the root and core of what she wants to do, but doesn't really get the opportunity to do so. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like,
someone who wants to submit but doesn't necessarily have the opportunity to do so.
Right. Because you have men who are looking and saying like, she's amassed so much, she's done so much like that, she's never going to submit. So I'm going to go to somebody else, right? Because
I was going to say, no, well, that's not the relationship for you.
Well, it's not. But there are a lot of men who are like, there's a lot of narrative out there where there are men who are saying, well, she doesn't need me. She doesn't need me because she can do for her own. And that's going to be a hard one to get to submit.
Well, again, going back to the emotional, right? She may not need you for financial purposes. However, I feel like there are things that men can do to create an environment for an alpha female to want to submit. And so whatever that may look like, right? Like,
so what would that, short list.
If she likes to talk business, help her out with her business, right? Give her ideas, make suggestions, care about her mental well-being, how she's doing, maybe take on some of the household responsibilities without her having to ask you, you know, maybe surprising her with, you know, a spa day. Exactly. Yeah. So there are certain things I feel like, because I feel like if you're alpha female, you just want to feel supported. You want to feel seen. It's about really tapping into the emotional, what makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. You know what I mean? But I feel a lot of times men get intimidated by successful women because, you know, of their level of success. And then again, the insecurity about like, well, what does she need me for? You know, well, there's a lot that you can bring to the table to a successful woman. And
think about what she's dealing with on a day-to-day basis.
Exactly.
She wants to come home and feel soft and not have to worry about wearing the pants at home. She does that at work.
Right.
So what she wants to do at home is be soft, be a caretaker, be an emotional provider, sounding board, support system for you. She doesn't want to have to show up that way.
And I think that looks like, again, I'm trying to be as clear as possible. So if you and your husband are both contributing members to the household financially and you make around the same, then if she's working late, let the house be clean when she comes home. You know, there are no gender roles when your woman is working, you know, the same as you.
So there's no gender
roles. Absolutely not. It's 50-50 down the board. I'm contributing to the household and the bills and the financial responsibility, then you're contributing to the household responsibility. And so I just think that, and you guys are taking care of each other emotionally. So if I'm rubbing your feet, then you're sending me to the spa. Are you rubbing my back? You know what I mean? So
this is like a part 2.
I'm just saying, like, it is, because that's how it's possible. Again, that's how it's possible to create an environment where a strong, dominant woman can feel safe enough to be submissive.
Well, and to that point, if an alpha woman is being all alpha in the boardroom and coming home and having to, and wanting to live in more of a soft space to support the household, cooking, cleaning, nurturing, all of those things, being a sounding board for her mate. If she doesn't feel like some of the lion's share of that work at home is being taken care of by her mate, what she's going to feel like is she's coming home and punching into her second job and feel like she's being taken advantage of and unappreciated. And overworked and underappreciated.
It's not just about the tactical. It's just about the thoughtfulness of it, right? Like it's not just checking off a box to say that you've done things, but it's about being thoughtful on how you can help, assist, make your partner feel good about whatever the situation may be. And I think that, again, a lot of men get it confused because they're not, it takes a very special man, I think, to be able to recognize or have emotionally intelligent man. Exactly. Emotionally intelligent man. And I just think for a woman who does work hard and works outside of the home and is an equal contributor to the household, it's about, again, just the level of thoughtfulness. Yeah. Like, how are you trying to make my life easier and better? And that goes both ways. It does. Right? Because as a woman who works outside of the house, you still have to create ways to make your man feel special too, especially when you're a powerful woman. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to really try to tap into your soft side when you are at home with your partner. And I think the same goes for a man. Yeah, I agree. So thinking of, there's just so much to talk about, I feel like, on this topic. But we don't have time. I know we don't have time. Let's just go ahead and wrap this up. So we'll put a pin on it. We'll come back. It has to be a part 2. So I would say, really, to kind of bubble, to put this in some cozy bubble wrap, emotional intelligence as a man is incredibly important to have. And it's important to have if you want to have a woman truly submit to you in a way that is beneficial, mutually beneficial, not just to you, but beneficial to the family, right? And to the household. And so figure out what that looks like for you. But I can tell you, high level bullets, it's about making sure she's emotionally safe, physically safe, mentally safe. And we'll throw financially safe in there as well. Yep. Oh yeah, that's number 1 job. It doesn't have to be number 1, but it needs to be on the short list. So but higher up, like 2, if not 1, then 2. Yes. Okay. Fair enough. So I think that's a perfect wrap for it. Where can people find us if they want to continue and engage in the conversation? Yeah, so you guys can follow us on Instagram at Champagne Wives Podcast. You can also follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Champagne Wives Podcast. And we appreciate you guys for listening and tuning in. We will see you next week. Same time, same place. Cheers, babe. Cheers. Oh, cheers. Cheers. Okay, cheers. In our plastic cups. Bye. Bye.